Thank you everyone for coming tonight to the AIA Women in Architecture series. This is actually the second lecture for us for 2021, but it's an opening talk for the Women in Architecture series. The Women in Architecture series is actually a big theme from the American Institute of Architects. This has been promoted for the past 2 to 3 years. And this year, Taipei, we decided to showcase women in architecture. The reason why we wanted to do this is that this year in Taipei, we began to raise the questions on interface, practice, and context. We wanted to know how different cities, different practice, different client, different condition, and what is the best practice for all of us. That's the reason why we began the series today. So our first theme is on urban regeneration project. This is why we invited, and we are very happy that both Shirley and Christine accepted the offer for the talk tonight. So in urban regeneration, we deal with perhaps dilapidated urban core or neighborhood in need of renewal or regeneration. At the same time, we all know from the past year to this year, we've been dealing with a pandemic, which is a health crisis. We also had to deal with an extreme climate, socioeconomic turmoil or challenges, and changes in demography. So I think for the AIA Taipei, we agree that this is a good time to begin the talk by showcasing 2 cities, 2 architects, and dealing with different contexts and what is the best practice. So in Taipei, we have Shirley King. She's the principal architect for TMA Architects. Shirley was educated professionally in the US and practiced in the US before coming back to Taipei. She led many beside urban renewal projects, large-scale urban and mixed-use project here in Taiwan. So I'm sure she will share with us her experience dealing in practice and context in Taiwan. Christine, she was educated in Hong Kong, and she's the principal at AIDAS. Hello, Christine.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello. And she led many large projects in Hong Kong and in China, Central Hong Kong, and also many projects in Wuxi, Dalian, etc. AIDAS is an international firm, and she is the principal and the leader in the field. I'm very happy that Christine accepted our invitation for the talk. Tonight, we're going to conduct the series in 2 parts. We're going to begin with both of the architects sharing their project, followed by discussion. I will moderate discussion between the 2 speakers. And at the end, we will open up the floor for Q&A for the audience here at Kohler Design Center or for the audience here in the Zoom room. So without further ado, please give a big applause to both speakers. Thank you for accepting our invitation, and we will begin the talk with Christine. Thank you.
Okay, that's very kind of you, Jenny. Because first I have to say thank you to Jenny and Shirley because you invited me. Because I can't come to Taipei because I love to, and I've been to Taipei before and attending conferences and seminars, and it's a lovely, lovely place, and I would love to go back again, and especially meeting you face to face and have a drink and dinner. So about the invitation, because we had that talk about the what is the urban regeneration and then the large-scale mixed-use projects and practices in different cities. And as a women architect, and what are we, what can we contribute, and also what impact are we bringing in and designing architecture? Because at the end, it's a men-dominating world or business. But I find that more and more female architects joining us, not only in Asia, but everywhere. And today it's very lovely to share some of our project experiences and also some discussion on this topic together. And so I'm going to share my screen, and I hope it works, yeah? Fingers crossed. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, the slide?
Yes, loud and clear, yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so tonight, as Jenny introduced, the seminar is about the new urbanity. And my talk is about urban regeneration versus localized hub creation. If the city is a complex network made of infrastructure, buildings, and open spaces, then it encompasses a far greater complexity of society and culture. These complex networks have a huge ability to accept accretive growth and change within the established framework. Many cities evolve from the amalgamation of villages into a cohesive urbanity, where each village reaches out to create a seamless web of activities, roadways, and built forms. City villages then evolved into hubs of the fully formed city, where infrastructures, utilities, and each community's shared functions are concentrated and focused. However, lack of holistic planning will lead to ubiquitous densification that put pressure upon the traffic, share of public facilities, and create social problems. On the other hand, densification is more advantageous to existing city hubs with established social and commercial centers where the infrastructures already exist or can be readily upgraded. Defocused city planning or random densification can lead to inefficient transport system. The travel distance to transportation node is relatively long. As such, high-density clusters is best positioned over the existing transportation nodes to reduce the journey time and frequency. A modern urban hub as a connector and activity generator will enrich and connect a city through its porosity, multiple usages, and multi-level public spaces. Traditional buildings are limited to their single use only, while urban renewal mixed-use buildings can accommodate many uses in flexible and adaptable formats. Obviously, high density would require more public space for social and cultural interaction, more varieties in functional usage, and more transportation means. Existing historic nodal points may already be located next to the parks, the greenland, and water bodies, so it is efficient to densify these nodes. Today, 4 examples are drawn from different cities to demonstrate the new urbanity. The first case study is Shibuya in Tokyo. It is a great TOD example of vertical stacked mixed programs in tower forms. The super high dense urban hub has been built right next to the Hachikome train station and on top of the city metro lines. For people who don't know Hachikome train station, if I say it's a Shibuya famous crossing, and that is a station with a statue of the dog, then it may ring a bell. So the hub is fully integrated with a sophisticated underground circulation network to connect the city center. New office commercial towers such as Shibuya Stream, High-Grade Tower, and Shibuya Scramble Square are all adaptable, multifunctional use and maximize synergy and urbanity. You look at that one tower, but it's got hotel, offices, conferencing facilities, theaters, shopping malls, all in one tower form. So this demonstrates a mixed vertical city or 24-hour city life and super vibrant and make it work for the Tokyo, but also in many other cities in Japan. And the pedestrian crossing in front of that, that you see that image at the right bottom corner is the famous crossing in front of the Q Front Tower. It's a signature scene representing the Tokyo lifestyle. The second case study, back to here in Hong Kong Central. The elevator footbridge system connects the office towers and shopping malls from the mid-level hill through the financial district, the IFC, and Exchange Squares, all the way to the Harbour Arch ferry piers, and which you can see the blue lines are all the deck and bridges linking the towers. And below ground, which is the red big box, it is the MTR station box with tunnels and exits that link up the towers and malls vertically. So the horizontal growth gives a new ground plane notionally lifted up at high levels to expand public ramps within towers and offer more open spaces. New York High Line is another example of horizontal connector to create a new urban hub. An existing historical node of the rail line track transformed to an elevated linear park of 2 kilometers long to stitch Hudson Yards with all other mixed commercial, social, arts and cultural activities along the Hudson River. It totally revived the old neighborhood from disused area of industrial buildings to an energetic community of working, living and recreation that is full of city lives. In West London, the regeneration of Paddington Basin is an industrial redevelopment to create a vibrant new office quarter close to the city in West End. It is just 15 minutes from the Heathrow Airport via Heathrow Express, therefore making for a highly desirable commercial location. The planning includes 6 numbers of new or refurbished bridges spanning across the canal to strengthen the fine-grained network of pedestrian routes. And then the introduction of a range of mixed uses with cafes, bars, restaurants, and retail outlets not only support the local community, but able to draw many, many visitors. The urban landscape is enhanced by opening up the hidden waterside to public access. In conclusion, we learn from these case studies that well-planned high-density urban hubs can create live, work, entertain dynamics. Modern mixed-use development model can integrate open space with mixed recreational, residential, and commercial use. According to the UN, in the world's urbanization rate projection to year 2050, China will have the most growth in an exponential rate to urbanize its cities from villages. China experienced a rapid urbanization in a large scale across the country since the year 1949. As you look at the graphs, the number of cities are increasing dramatically as is the size of cities and number of population migrating from villages to cities. So there are more and more red dots. The red dots represent the population over 10 million in the city hub. And so you can see more red dots now in the mid-China, southern China, and even in the northern China. Up to year 2020, there are a total of 686 cities in China. Over 60% of the population are now living in cities. So rapid urbanization, if not controlled or unplanned, it could lead to inefficient urban sprawl, increasing social inequality, overbuilding expensive infrastructure, and pollution exacerbated by longer commutes. And with 20 million people urbanizing each year, China government has declared a new urbanization planning policy for year 2014 to 2020. The goal is to promote a human-centric lifestyle and preserve local culture within city hubs and create a sense of place. Shanghai, being the Tier 1 city in China and the core leading city of Yangtze River Delta, it connects to almost all provincial capitals in the southeast and mid-China within 1 hour air flight. It has over 24 million population in Shanghai. And here we are in Shanghai. One of my mixed-use projects almost finished, not open yet. And these are the photos taken like 2 weeks ago. And the project name is called I'm Shanghai. And let's zoom out and see where the project is. And here's the solid yellow dot with the orange outline in the Changning district in the map in the local. And it is next to the Hongqiao station. If by train, the site is only a few stops away from the Nanjing Road Old Bund. Shanghai government has planned 2 more new CBDs, including the north and south bunds opposite to the Lujiazui CBD in Pudong area. In order to support the continuous growth of CBDs, multiple local hubs are inserted to the main transport nodes, which are marked by the hollow yellow dots. And we can see that to the west, the Hongqiao Airport, there's several hubs around it. And then to the east, that's the maglev station line to the Pudong Airport. And in the center of Shanghai, near the Hongqiao Metro Station, and which is where the project is. Changning District is an old, dense residential area where the project site is a brownfield regeneration. And it was an abandoned old factory site. And after the buildings were cleared out, instead of hoarding up the site, the client has planted yellow rapeseed field and opened it for public and neighbors before the construction starts. And right next to the site, the adjacency is a group of warehouses called Red Town. It is an artist village with workshops and storage, but it was underused and lack of interaction with the neighborhood. And within an old city fabrics of dense population, Shanghai government enacted its vision to energize the Changning community by creating a new local hub as a strategic node close to the Nanjing Road city center. And next to our site, which is the light orange color, is the Red Town, and it has already rezoned to commercial use and is now under construction. And combining all 3 parcels in orange color, because they are all commercial use, and so it is a sizable local hub of mixed-use development that join up with the local fabrics of residential area to become a bigger community. The brief called for a mixed-use development to form a bigger community, and it is a place to live, to work, and to play. The site fits perfectly the urbanization requirement, like high accessibility to the existing infrastructure, because to the right bottom, you can see that rail. This is the elevated light rail station, and is only within 5 minutes walk to 2 other metro lines underground. So in order to create a vibrant business and social hub, there must be mixed programs offering a variety of building functions such as retail, office, arts, cultural, and exhibition. The conventional financial district only focused on office use with very few amenities, but an integrated community hub proves the success of a symbiosis of working and social experience. A community also looks for a sense of place. Unique architectural identity would help establishing a recognizable icon for public. And there are a total 4 towers in this project, and you're looking at one of the tower, which is the tallest, being 140 meter tall in height, and it has got funky form. Distinctive character was designed for each tower. And so the tower forms varied for all 4 towers. It is a collection of sculptural objects forming the new cityscape. The site is an odd and irregular shape cut into half by a public road. Placing all 4 towers away from the existing residential towers is a sensible approach. But more importantly, our towers are not blocking the solar access to the existing residential units. By building codes, we have to ensure the existing residential units all have minimum 1 hour solar access on the solstice day through the lounge window and bedroom window. Therefore, the solar constraint basically defines the permissible build volume, which is the orange wedges on the top diagram. The resultant mass of our buildings are cut and shaped to fit within the orange jelly boundaries. Then, the building forms gave us the inspiration of the rock-cut mountain in Chinese ink painting of landscape. It depicts the solid and void by strokes of lines. The painting technique was translated into our facade design. The line strokes become the vertical thin features that gives very good sun shading effect. The solid pattern also helps reducing the light pollution to the surroundings by simply just reducing the glazing ratio of the curtain wall. Since year 2020, Shanghai is promoting a sustainable business center model 3.0, where the first CBD on the Bund is version 1, Liujiazhui CBD on Pudong is version 2, and the business center version 3, where in simple terms, it asks for diversified, adaptive, and flexible use of space, and therefore the business center is a sustainable place to be. Our project started the design in year 2015, and it was 6 years ago. Back then, the client already had the vision to create a new office hub to attract the startups, tech companies, creative industries, and the like. One of the towers that you're looking at, the black little tower, is designed to be a vertical stacked cultural exhibition center. It is a flexible floor space to accommodate labs, conferencing facilities, and showrooms, etc. It has got 9 meter tall floor-to-floor flexible space stacked up vertically in the tower. Combining with the office function, holistic business amenities to support the office growth is vital to make the local hub sustainable. The master plan has also considered to maintain the neighborhood quality. One of the key features of Old Shanghai Village is the Lilong streetscape, and we chose the street pavilion blocks over using big podium solution to make the site very permeable on grade. The small blocks are retail shops, cafes, and restaurants that can spill out to activate the streets. The upper floors are flexible spaces for workshops and experiential retail. 2 rows of pavilion blocks form a retail spine that stitches the site together. A unified but porous urban edge gives a better transition of scale from high-rise to neighborhood sense of street. The porosity of building blocks also allow more daylight and air ventilation to the streets. Sunken streets are laid underneath the existing road network to link up the basement retail to the metro station tunnel within a barrier-free and traffic-free environment. A series of plazas and courtyards are provided for social gathering that promotes human interaction and street vibrancy. With the fusing of a commercially viable mixed-use development with arts, cultural exhibition, business, and social functions, will make this entire development become a part of its community's daily lives. The new offices and retail will bring in more job opportunities to the area and attract new families moving in the neighborhood, and therefore fulfilling the urban regeneration purpose. And by the way, why is this project called I'm Shanghai? Because I've been asked this question several times, and they made a joke about, are you Shanghai? Well, if you noticed the building signage from one of the site photos earlier, I am Shanghai means Innovative Mix Shanghai. That's the project name. And thank you very much.
Thank you. So I will present my questions first to those speakers, and then if you can share your thoughts and your experience with us. The number one questions would be on sustainability and how you both felt the project would make into what we are facing today. We always talked about sustainable cities for architecture and sustainability. And usually we strive to make the city safer and creating architecture that actually talk and are actually friendly to the people. So my question to both of you is, low urban renewal project actually requires large investments and a partnership between the private and the public sector. So that from the experiences that both of you shared, it's actually a very difficult collaboration. And the architect usually try to find a balance and find the best, the most optimal plan, the most optimal design. So then can you please share with us, how do you actually strive to make it more sustainable, creating more friendly open spaces and places for people to be? And how do you deal with the fact that perhaps the renewal project becomes a hub and maybe would not communicate with the neighborhood around the city or around the project? So then how do you find what are the best design tools in order to create or to finalize your design? So that would be my first question. I think, Christine, if you can take the floor first, and Shirley can answer afterwards.
Okay, I'll try to answer it first, because there are lots of questions and in one question, more than one. I'll answer it one by one. Okay. Because I felt deeply with Shirley for the projects that go through years and 6-7 years, that many revision of changes, some be based on the market-driven problems because of the pandemic, and that brought quite a significant impact on the economy. And the client, as an investors, they try to cut budget. So mine is a little bit lucky because I have got everything on site, and there's no chance for them to change the design, because changing the design, the variation at the very end stage, like construction stage, is more expensive because everything was tendered out already. So the variation, the VO, and the time and cost implication will be much, much bigger than changing the design to become cheaper. And on the other hand, I always said to the client, because really we went through a significant change since the last 12 months. A lot of clients coming back and say, can we make the scheme cheaper by cutting the amenities, by cutting something that does not make profit? It's a very obvious places to attack. For example, your plazas or your features, etc., etc. Because those areas are not sellable or leasable. And then it's very, very easy for the QS and for the leasing department. They're not architects, they don't have visions, they're not even project managers. Then they come back to the consultant team. Can you reduce it? Can you value engineering it? Then as an architect, we're always trying to convince and defend our design or fight for the design by giving the actual numbers. What actually are you saving? Maybe you're seeing a few dollars cut here, but in a tough market, people are actually more and more competitive, because if you're building some average product versus that you are building some with added value product, as the customers or buyers, they will go for choose the better quality first, then to the average. So when you look at that, the big numbers that comes forth, then you will see that the extra dollar you spend will worth generating more revenue. And more importantly, post-pandemic, the community, the public are really looking for a reputable developers, a responsible stakeholders. The community, the neighborhood are more supporting to a friendly stakeholder. Because even though they're the developer, they're operating their properties or shopping mall or public places. They want to build a good relationship with the neighbors. And therefore, you have given them something. And post-pandemic, for example, just very little things. You keep your places safe, clean, hygienic, better air ventilation, and the families are like coming to stay. That means open space, because now realize people want to go out and people want to go to park. Staying indoors or going to see friends in a restaurant is very risky, and they love to spend time because they all work from home and they have more time with the children, so they like to go out and do something together. So imagine that those investors or developers, they actually have a better quality buildings. They attract more customers and visitors to support them and spend money in their places. That is a long-term revenue and profit making and the relationship building and social responsibility. They have to see it long term. We have to explain to them that a few dollars saving is not worthy doing it, especially now. Especially in the down market, people need to take a risk. People need to do a little bit more. Everyone has to contribute a little bit more. And sometimes it works. I can tell you that it's not always working because, but even if one client or one project, then you can make it better. I think this is what we're doing, architects every day. We make compromises, and sometimes we're so frustrated, but sometimes you win some, you lose some.
Okay. Shirley?
Okay. Well, to continue with Christine's thing, I think it's especially, hard in Taiwan. I think most corporations in Taiwan, they tend to be small or medium family-run business. Even the large ones are family-run. So basically, it's like family money. So I tend to find the project that we could do more creative work are the ones they sell things like they're not selling it for profit or they're not renting it out. So in this particular project, it was 3 big clients and they, big insurance companies too. They don't even own it. They're renting it and helping them lease it in the future. So that was difficult. And I think in general, Taiwanese clients tend to be just more conservative. What was the other question?
Your best practice dealing with the government and making it, but can you connect with the neighborhood?
Well, in this project, actually, because all around it is an urban renewal project. So all around it, I think some of the audience know the site very well. It's all industrial zone projects. So there's a lot of project that's waiting to be developed. Like Chris here is working on the site next to mine. So we're trying to bring, since it's a hub-like concept, right? So for our project, originally, which I think we're still doing, is because the client also owns hospitals and a lot of different, corporation companies. So they wanted to bring in medical center into the complex too. And then we actually have a public section on the fourth floor to give it back to the government. They were talking about making an educational center for the community college for adult school. So therefore, you could definitely work, live, play, and then never leave that whole zone. Like going back to Jenny's 15-minute neighborhood.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm jumping to the next question.
Okay, so here comes the beginning of the next question. Question number 2 actually is something that I was very curious about, and I shared my thoughts actually previously with Christine and Shirley. It has to do with how last year, 2020, the Venice Biennale was proposed a theme, and the theme was actually asking all of us, how will we live together? It was, of course, the pandemic hit, and the Biennale was postponed until later this year, hopefully. But the question is, during the pandemic, other designers and architects came out, and especially in Europe, they came up with the term 15 minutes neighborhood. This neighborhood, actually, you are able to walk and work and perhaps have your amenities all within 15 minutes walk from your home. So my question is back to both of you. To make it the urban center or having architecture more resilient, social resilient, can you perhaps merge or actually fuse the idea of 15 minutes neighborhood with large-scale urban regeneration project? And if so, how should we go about in doing it? So Christine, you first.
Okay. Well, when we talk about the new urban hub, local hub, etc., because we're always getting the land doing a very high plot ratio, high density development. And the commercial mixed use, exactly doing what is 15 minutes neighborhood concept is. Because in a tower form, we stack multiple users, not only offices, because you see quite a lot of office on top of hotels, and then with the SA service apartment in one tower. And then you've got a large podium, which is a shopping mall. And nowadays, shopping mall is also looking for not just retailing because of the online shopping, the virtual shopping, online shopping really taking quite a lot of business out. The shopping mall is looking for a new positioning able to survive in this new lifestyle. And it is more than just retail shopping or eating. It is actually provides all services, supporting amenities to the service tower, to the residential towers, and to the hotels. So the clinics, for example, in Hong Kong is very common. There are so many clinics and pharmacies are going in the shopping mall, and the dentist, exactly. And even schools, the nursery schools, the elderly center are taking the large floor plate of the top floor of the shopping mall to be an elderly center. So it makes everything all stacked up vertically. And then back to the TOD, because when we said where to put the new urban hubs, that's exactly the point of having them all built on top of the transportation node. That's a TOD project. And then having the train station, the subway station, and the bus terminals, etc., all underneath your mixed use development. Then imagine that this is less than 15 minutes because you're just going up and down in the lift vertically. And so I think in Asia, it's not a new thing. But then I think in Europe, they start to think of, we should have a 15 minutes neighborhood. And because of the pandemic, because of the lockdown, people can't even get things from supermarket because they have to drive half an hour to buy food. So I think for us and especially Asian cities, we're already doing it, ahead of them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Shirley?
I think Christine just answered everything. So,
well, actually, you can take the next question.
Okay.
Yeah, but just continue that. I think something I've been thinking of too is my husband's in Texas. So you know the recent, besides the pandemic, because with the recent extreme weather changes too, I think that's something we should all consider in our future project. You know, like we never thought, for example, he never thought like all the houses would not hold up to like just a simple snow that usually would do okay in Canada, but somehow devastated Texas, and Texas already has flooding already, and then there was water shortage because of the busted pipe, and then the water wasn't able to flow through the pipe correctly, so there's viruses. So things like that, I think we're going to face more in Taipei and Hong Kong as well, like earthquake or really hot weather. Taiwan right now is restricting water usage down south and middle. Yeah, only 5 days out of 7 days you can use water. So that's definitely something.
Shower then. Have you showered last night?
Yes, we're in Taipei, thank God. So we're very lucky we're in Taipei. So yeah, I think that's something we should definitely think about in the future for future. It's hard because you don't know what's coming, I think. Yeah. I'll give it back. I haven't answered any of your questions.
Okay, so Shirley, you have my next question. I actually wanted to know from practicing urban regeneration project, having to deal with the different urban contexts, different culture, different living habits, and also different code, the client's wishes, pressure, and the government, their governments. So in order to give the rest of us your suggestion or recommendation on what would be the best practice during the urban regeneration project, dealing with this type of project, is there any best scenario or best practice in mind? If so, please share with us. So Shirley first.
Really hard question. Yeah. So I think in general, because I was practicing in America for a long time, maybe like 15 years before I came back to Taiwan 8 years ago, I find that local codes in Taiwan seems to be very, very strict. There seems to be so many codes here. Well, versus something like Texas, there's no like even zoning. You can build anything you want next to each other. So I think that tends to strict architects' creativity. I mean, in terms of, because all these codes. So I wish and I hope more architects get involved with rewriting the code because things are changing. Like I said, extreme weather, extreme conditions, laws are meant to be changed. It has to go with the time, but I just feel like the local codes tend to be very restrictive. And in terms of urban renewal, I think also on the Taipei, I hope I don't offend anyone. On the Taipei Urban Renewal Board, there's a lot of academic professors that are on the board. So I think, yeah, maybe Jenny too. So no, I think they tend to have really idealistic. I mean, I really like all their ideas, but sometimes it's very hard to work with developers because they are counting every cent, every penny. So, I mean, just to find a middle ground, you just do your best. And hopefully you can create something interesting and dynamic. So again, but going back, I still think if it's a self-use kind of clients, like right now I'm working on a supercar, we also went to urban renewal board. So, but this is his headquarters. So something like that, you could definitely be more creative in terms of the project. But actually, we had a harder time with the urban renewal board because they don't want to see a flashy design in the middle of the context. So it's give and takes, I think. So okay, I think.
Okay, thank you, Shirley, and back to you, Christine. Wait, we cannot hear you. Wait. Hold on for a moment. We cannot hear you at all.
Wait, can we hear? Let's do it.
Can you talk again, Christine? No, we cannot hear you at all. Wait, hold on. Is it hers or ours? I have no idea.
We haven't touched anything on our side.
Okay. So
Okay, good. No, just 2 seconds ago, we were able to hear you.
Oh,
Okay, now great. You're back.
yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, good. So the urban regeneration project in Hong Kong, it used to be just it's the hardest part is relocation. You have to relocating all the existing tenants or residents, and then finding places for them to go to. And this is the hardest part. And it was done by private developers quite successfully, because they just buy back your units at a very, very good price at the market rate. And so people are quite happy to leave and sell you the units or shops or whatever. And then so they can just put it all down and put a new development there. But since I think in the last 10 years, Hong Kong government has done a little bit better, because we've got a partial public and partial private pseudo-government body. It is the Urban Regeneration Authority, URA. They involved in getting the sites and regenerate some old fabrics, the squatters areas in Hong Kong, and then build more housing. And some of them are public housing and some of them are private housing, but then they've got some very good facilities. They're putting wet market in, they're putting shopping mall in, and they have the places and the planning, having more schools, hospitals around it, and that's a more holistic planning. Comes with the all government departments working together. And when they started to roll out this urban regeneration project, they also faced with the high plot ratio, the high density issues, because Hong Kong has been using all building codes and regulations borrowed from British government, because we are the colonial city, and all the laws were based on the British laws, and same as the building codes and regulations. And that was quite old and not really fitted places like Hong Kong, because UK is not very dense and they do not have super high rise and very dense development. So during years, Buildings Department in Hong Kong also revisited a lot of regulations, and they added on top a lot of new code of practices and practice notes, how to improve and solve the high density new buildings. So that means before the architects drawing the design, they already laid down a lot of restrictions to stop people being too greedy. Because Hong Kong developers will maximize every single inch for money. Because Hong Kong, the land price is so expensive, everything, especially the properties market, it just like really sky hot. Even now, pandemic, I can tell you that the property market, the residential units, the price did not drop. They go up. They keep going up during the last 2 years. It's crazy. So therefore, it makes it not very affordable. But then in terms of the very dense, we can put like 10 towers, like 200 meter tall residential towers, side by side next to each other. And then you can see the pictures from Hong Kong. You look at that, really? Is that where people live? Yes, it is, because everyone just have a little post box like windows, but it's so dense. Then it gets the problem of air pollution. The light cannot penetrate down to the street getting a bit dark, and a lot of overbuilt issues generated as an outcome of the overdeveloping. And then the building regulation revisited to solve and tackle those and stop that happening, building the wall effect. For example, we have got now a new regulation to control the porosity of building. That is a mathematical calculation to make sure that, okay, if you want a very long facade, like fat long facade like a wall, hang on, now you can't build it because they ask you to put a hole, punctuation. So you can do that length of the facade, but then you have to create a big opening in the middle. So that's the porosity. But of course, how do you do that is up to you, up to architects' creativity, because we can interlock slat blocks, staggering, creating holes on the walls, and that allows the air ventilation, etc., and the sun angle. And then Hong Kong really cannot afford having all the green or landscape on ground because the plot that you buy is so small. So we like to have green corridors, green belts, but you can't have it because there's no space. So how to enact that and encourage the developer to put in more greeneries? So Hong Kong, they think of, I can enforce a green ratio, but it's a vertical green ratio. If you can fulfill it on horizontal plane, on ground, you have got maximum 100% calculation. But if you elevated it to be on second floor, on the podium roof, the percentage decrease as you bring it up higher and higher. But every square meter of a green area you count, it has to be open to public, and people can access through the public, either by lift or stairs, can go to your green space. Then it's count for the green ratio. Okay, in case I can't do it even on top and stacked it up horizontally, I can do it on vertical. So that gets us doing more of the green facade and vertical green in Hong Kong now. So that's the way I think that there's some improvement, that curbs can change the design or can help the design being better, being more social friendly, environmental friendly. So, well, there's one thing that Hong Kong trying to do, but it's really hard because we want to get it to smart city and sponge city. That's the ultimate aim, to stop the flooding and also make it, less polluted, smart, and less consumption of electricity, etc. But yeah, there's still a lot to do.
Okay. Thank you for a very extensive explanation and understanding what we can look forward in facing urban renewal projects, especially in Hong Kong, in the local urban context and the local governments. So right now we are back to the floor. I would like to ask the floor, is anyone who has a question who would like to ask those speakers? Let's start with the podium in a real meeting site. Is anyone in the audience who would like to ask one question? Any question? I think both speakers spoke gave very extensive answers. So back to our Zoom audience. Is there anyone from the Zoom audience who would like to ask a question? So far, I see everyone is muted. So far, I think it's. I think everyone's very shy.
I think it's a Friday night. People
Friday night. Okay, so this is happy hour time has come up.
Yeah, I just want to have a drink and a happy hour time.
Oh, there's a question. There's a question from the audience, Zoom audience.
Right.
Let's see. Question. What advice do you have for young women in architecture? This is a very good question. So who wants to start with this answer?
I think Christine.
I'm not young, so I don't have advice.
Oh, young women.
I'm an architect,
Sure.
but I'm not young anymore. Well, okay. I think when I was young, I think it was very different to now. Yeah, because I see more and more girls going to architecture school. And I can tell you the ratio in Hong Kong universities and Chinese university. You know, in one class of Faculty of Architecture, the ratio girls to boys is 7-3.
7 to the girls.
Yes,
3 for the
7
boys.
girls and 3 boys, yeah. And when I went to the architectural school, and it was 1-9, 1 girl and 9 boys, yeah. So that means the future is women architects, because not many male architects left because they didn't go to school.
Architect, yeah. Okay, so any input, Shirley?
Well, I think it is very difficult as a woman. Yeah, back in the days when I went to school, actually my whole university was 3 women versus 7 men. But I mean, you definitely see what a lot of the women architect, the older women architect you talk to. I think for younger women architect, you really need to think about what you like to do in life. Maybe perhaps to plan something events. Do you want a family down the road? Do you need, or is career as though you're driven? Sometimes your life just flashes by, you know, because I'm sure Christine worked crazy hours, and that I myself was younger.
I don't want to touch that topic because it's really pathetic. Yeah, because we all 3 had that conversation.
But the younger women, I think they need to, because in the U.S., I think even the firms that used to be, it's very few women, because you work till midnight all the time, and a lot of women, by the time in their 30s, they have children, they drop out of architecture, so by the time they come back, a lot of them come back as single mom, unfortunately, in their 40s. So that's something I think for a younger woman architect, they need to, I know this is a lot more personal to think about, because I'm sure Christine did the same thing. I fly around all the time. Next thing you know, 5 years pass, 6 years pass, and you're a certain age. I mean, it's a profession that's not very forgiving for women, I think in some way. But it's very, you know, yeah, we definitely had that conversation with Jenny and Christine the other night. So but for I think if you plan it out, you can have everything that you want. You just have to plan it in advance, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I think sacrifice, because women was born to have different roles, as a mother, as a wife, as a working force in the society. And well, I find that in the office, totally, or even going to the construction site, dealing with the contractors and clients, consultants, they're all fine. They don't really see you, a woman, because you're just one of the architects. They don't really call you differently, or say miss. Yeah, they don't. They call your name, so it doesn't really have the gender. It's very neutral, sex-wise. Yeah, whether you're a man architect or female architect, they either respect you or not respect you, but not because of your gender or where you're from. But I feel that the issues are always with ourselves, because we struggle between that. Okay, architecture is something that you commit to it, and because you can't be an architect unless you have the passion to design and architecture. And once you have you are so passionate about certain thing, and then you just like invested everything onto it. And once you realize that time flies, and so you sacrifice some, and some just pulled out that, okay, because I want a family or I want a balanced life. I see successful examples that manage to balance all aspects, the personal life, family, and work. Yeah. But I think that if you can think of these issues earlier, when you're young, then the better position you will be in 10 or 20, 30 years later. Because someone told me, and she is also a woman architect, she's a French, and she was the department head of architecture in Hong Kong University. And Nasreen, she said that because no one knows what architect is until they practice like 10 years. They only start to know what is architect and becoming an architect. No one can be an architect after they walked out the school. Even you get the qualification doesn't mean that you are a qualified architect, because there's still a lot of things that we don't know. Then by the time you become a real architect, and we are 35 to 40 age, and then when you get past that 40, then you try to become a good architect. So you spend another 20 years trying to look for a way to become a good architect. By that time, you're 60 years old. Therefore, you see a lot of good architects, renowned architects, they're all age above 60. And then when you have some achievements, you are 70, 80 years old. Women do not have that 70, 80 years and still doing architecture. So we are also sorry for that, but that's something that it clicks in the mind that, okay, so why shouldn't I choose to study law, become lawyer? There's so many professionals, or doctor, yeah. But back to the very question is that because we choose architecture, and because we choose it because we love it. And I think that you married to architecture is not that bad after all.
Depending on the theory.
Okay, so Christine gave us a very good time progress report of how architects mature, especially for women architects. So thank you for both of the speakers. I think the Zoom audience gave us all the questions already, I think. Oh, we have one question for the floor, please.
Hi guys, hello, thank you very much for the presentations. I just realized today that this is a women's architecture activity, so I'd like to bring the question back to gender. So I was wondering, you're both in the leadership roles in architecture firms. I'm just wondering, what do you perceive as flaws under male leadership, and what kind of advantages do you think you bring to the team as female leaders?
Okay.
And also, what is your personal leadership style when leading a project? So 2 questions.
Okay, two questions in one question. So, Christine, did you hear the question well?
No, sorry, Jenny. I think you have to repeat the questions.
I must repeat, okay.
Yes.
If I understood correctly, the question was, as a woman in architecture, does the gender differences, or will both gender make a difference? And one is...
Do you see any flaws under male leadership?
Any flaw. Any flaw under the male leadership? What if there was never a male leadership? Okay, any flaw in the male leadership? That's the question. No, flaw. Any flaw?
Flaws. You're looking for flaws, yeah?
Flaws, all the negative parts.
Negative parts.
Yes.
I think that has to be answered by my my partners, yeah, because I'm the only female members on the executive board of this IDIS group. So, what's flaws? First of all, I don't think anyone see me or treat me as a woman. But then, okay, because it's very personal, because we both have, because not because you're women or men, we sometimes just have the not very rational, I can say that, because when usually people see women, you are a leader. You are not thinking logically. You're not using logic. You do not talk logic. Yeah. But I have to tell you, because men is the same. We are the same species. They do not talk logic, and sometimes it's just unreasonable to talk to. We all have that moment. So, but I guess female sometimes has a different perspectives in managing the company, and the decision making, for example. I think women has more multiple facets when make a decision. Sometimes it's just based on the facts and based on the numbers comparison. But women also have the soft spot and put in a little bit more emotional side or more human side to look at the same issues before we make decision. Men can be quite brutal. It's just based on facts and what is the best, what is the best call. Woman is not looking for the best call. Woman is looking for what is the ultimate call that has the least harm weight. Yeah. Men just looked for the best call for everybody in the big picture. I think that's the difference in terms of the leadership between men and female.
Okay, so Shirley, this is a sensitive question for you too.
Yeah. Well, I think, well, going back to what you said earlier, I think because Taiwan, because of the history, there is definitely a difference between our clients or our engineer or our contractors treats women versus treating a man, because we're very, from our history, we were part of the Japanese colony, so we still have that kind of male-dominated thinking behind. I don't want to say male chauvinist. It's a lot better because we have a female president.
Hong Kong also has a chief executive.
Well, so we have very strong women leaders. But in terms of what's the difference between men and women, I find that I'm more sensitive. And maybe I could read maybe my colleagues' feelings better. I could sense it before most of my male colleagues, or sometimes if I think the client opens up to more like they don't encounter a female architect that often. So I feel like it's a different kind of working dynamic versus like a male architect. So it's good and bad. So in that way, maybe you have more leeway to design. You can convince them better on designing something that is more out of box. Versus, I feel like sometimes the men are more rigid, so it's more black and white. Yeah, it's that.
I think you both of you answered the question quite well. So we're back to the last part of our presentation today. I think for our AIA International Region chapter, we need to take a picture the audience with both speakers. So Christine, you can remain on the screen. We will all be standing next to your virtual image.
I'm fine. I'm quite happy.
Just stay there. Just stay there. Don't move. Just stay there, and we will slowly.
A ghosty soul.
Yes. We will need to do that for the recording. So please wait for us, and we all come to.
They could with the okay.
Because I should have sent you a paper cut so you can cut a 1-to-1 scale on the piece of cardboard, and then just holding that cardboard to take that.
Let's start. So please, all of us, please come forward so we can take the picture and not blocking Christine on the screen. The screen. So we have to come to the side. Come to the side. Okay, is that a bit too tall? really pretty. Yes.
It's really strange, really, taking a picture.
Again, great. We will send a picture to you, and you're the large person there due to the projection. But
I
again,
can screen cap that one, so because we are recording the screen
Right.
today. Because during this seminar, we also use that as seminar material for our internal CPD hours.
I see. Yeah, great. I think some of the Zoom audience also asked for the recording, but we also have the recording. We will check. We'll share with everyone, and we'll be on the AIIR site for anyone who is interested, who wants to get the learning units necessary. Then you will need to answer the question both from Christine and from Shirley. We have all the Q&A ready for anyone who wants to take the lessons. So again,
all the answers, you can just email me. I can give
the answer to you. Okay, good. So you will provide the answer to whoever heard the speech and then talk today. So anyhow, thank you, Christine, again for accepting the invitation and becoming our first the speaker with Shirley for our first lecture. Thank you so much. And we look forward to future collaboration and talk and lecture and sharing ideas with you.
Positively, because I really enjoy doing this with you, and really want to come to Taipei. I'm sorry, guys, and everybody. I can't see them on screen, but just send my hello and best regards to everyone in Taiwan and Taipei. And it's a really lovely evening. Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you, Shirley, too. Thank you again. Thank you, Christine. Okay.
Thank you, Jenny.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Shirley.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, 再见。
再见，再见。